Now, the other side, there's a beautiful theory out there, has been going on for about 50 years, that's called the third culture kids. And the third culture kids theory was designed mostly to explain how children of, initial children of diplomats, because they were born, they lived in different cultures, the parents were, maybe US born, but they were growing up in France, then in China, then in Bolivia, whatever. Yeah. So third culture kids theory basically states that these kids live not in their parents' culture, not in their country where they're living culture, but in a third place where they integrate both, right? Where they're bilingual or trilingual many times, where they take what they want, what makes them feel better from each of the cultures, and they confront life from that perspective. They're also more open to change. They are less, they have less racist attitudes, less conservative attitudes. So that is, there is a literature on third culture kids that proves that it's a really good thing for kids.
Jamey Schilling is almost 23 years old, and he grew up in 4 countries: United States, Austria, Norway, and Poland. His father was a diplomat, and as Jamey puts it, he was lucky enough to be taken along for the ride. Jamey joins us from Chicago, Illinois, USA. Jamey, given your background, I felt like I needed to add Illinois and USA, although Chicago is a very well-known city. I would like to start with where were you born and when did you move abroad?
Yeah, so I was born in Fairfax County, Virginia, a few years ago. Like I said, about to be 23. But we'd move every 3 years or so. So my dad was in the States for a year for language training. So then we'd move about every 3 years, come back to Virginia for language training, spend another 3 years at a post, and then come back. So from around first grade through third grade, I was in Oslo, Norway. From fifth grade through seventh grade, I was in Warsaw, Poland, and even before that, when I was in pre-K, I was in Austria. So it's been a journey. It's been a fun one though.
Yes, how many years altogether did you spend abroad?
I think it'd be about 9. So about 9. The fun fact I used to say was I spent half my life overseas, but as I keep getting older, the number keeps dwindling. So at some point it's gonna be, I spent a quarter of my life overseas. So it's a little less impressive, but still 9 years. So.
How many languages do you speak?
So I speak Polish. Oh, I can order a hamburger in Polish. So my family, we say that counts. But we speak German, Norwegian, French, and then of course English.
And that's because you lived in Europe.
Yes, correct.
When did you move back to the United States? Your family and you moved back to the United States?
Correct, yeah, we moved back in the fall of 2009.
And where is your family now?
So right now they're in Omaha, Nebraska, so.
Do you remember anything that you were happy to move back to the United States? And I'm telling you this because I recall a family that they were finishing their PhDs in Germany, and every time the family landed back in the United States, they would go to a taco place. They missed tacos. How about you? Do you remember anything like that?
So several things. I'll start with one. My mom wouldn't let me live this down if I ever forgot this. My mom swears that the thing we were most impressed by when we came back to the U.S. was that there were unlimited refills for soda. I'd say as far as personally, there were no. I'm a big sports fan. I missed being able to watch, whatever it was, college football and not have it not be 3 a.m. But also being able to speak English as well and understand what's happening around me was also really nice. And I always remember because we'd come in most recently from Poland, and we'd always connect through Chicago O'Hare. And I always remember like the most happy I'd be is when we were on that little hour flight from Chicago to Omaha, and I was just like we're back, and I can't wait for it. So
Okay.
I'd say just everything in general. I'd also like to mention my grandparents as well. So.
Okay, so let me summarize it. Your parents live here in Omaha, Nebraska. You graduated from high school here in Omaha, Nebraska. Graduated from college, Marquette University, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. live and work in Chicago. I know, Jamey, you say that home is not a place on the map or a building, but honestly, where do you consider yourself to be from here in the United States?
Right now, I'd still say Omaha, as kind of plain as that sounds. I've always kind of had the belief where, um, I'd say also my family where home is where my family is. Right now, it's home is where the dog is, and right now that's Omaha. So I'd still say it's Omaha as home, but I'd say a little bit of me stays in each place. Like I'd also consider Milwaukee home to a lesser extent, and obviously now I'm living in Chicago, so that's also home as well. But I'd say if you were just to straight up ask me, Jamey, where's home? Definitely Omaha, because that's where the parents are.
Do you think of yourself as an American in terms of ethnicity?
I think so. I think when I was younger, there was more of a distinction because I just come from overseas, and there were at times me questioning myself, like, well, I have lived most of my life overseas. Am I really? But I think, after spending more time in the U.S., I'd say definitely proud American.
And you're saying that your connection, you still have some feelings for your countries for the countries where you grew up. When it comes to loyalties and a sense of belonging, do you think that you belong to those countries as well, the countries where you grew up?
Definitely. Kind of running joke in the family that we have is, especially when the Olympics and the World Cup come on, it's the most challenging part for me because, like, especially in the Olympics, like I hope the Norwegians do well, but I also hope the Germans do well. But I also hope the Polish teams do well, and so it's just almost a conflict of interest. But I hope they all do really well. So I'd say definitely I'm rooting for all of them, and like I'd see a certain part of me in them, but more so now it's just gosh, I hope they do well, and like I said, I feel a little bit of me has stayed there, but it's not as big as it once was.
Knowing foreign languages, has it helped you professionally?
I'd say it's helped me more in mannerisms and how to behave, more than languages. I'd say especially having to move around so often and adjust so much, it really helps you. It really forces you to be more personal with people, and that's really helped me in the workplace. Whether it's getting something from this coworker here, or just small talking with another coworker there, or it helps me feel more comfortable. I'd say the language part's definitely coming at points, whether it be bringing up German or Norwegian, but I'd say definitely the mannerisms of how to behave in the workforce has helped a lot, especially being the son of a diplomat, where that's literally my dad's livelihood for a certain number of years. And that's all I really knew was, okay, like if my dad's doing it, that's probably the way I should act. And that I'd say even to this day that helps me, whether it's interacting with someone who's my age as a colleague or someone who's a senior exec. It's just a respect thing that's helped. I get that from overseas, I'd say.
And Jamey, yes, you were young when you moved back, but how has that experience influenced your perspective on life and world?
Well, I'd say it's definitely given me a very unique perspective that not a lot of kids get. Moving around every 3 years is pretty difficult, but I'd say it's definitely given me some very good benefits. It's definitely given me a better appreciation for the United States. Um, I'd say definitely a better appreciation for my family, realizing, who the more important people are in your life, whether there's because there'll always be those people that are in with your life for the long run, your family, your brother, certain friends, and unfortunately, there are going to be those people who are only in your life for a certain amount of time. And growing up overseas as a third culture kid, moving every 3 years, that's one of the biggest takeaways I had was, okay, some of these people in just a few years they're going to completely forget about you, and that's fine. It's not nothing personal. They're not doing it purposely. It's just that's just life, and you need to move on with that. And kind of accepting that, I'd say, is freeing in itself, where it gives you, it opens your heart up for more experiences and even more people to meet. I think that's definitely another big takeaway I've taken from growing up overseas is that there are so many different people, whether it's here in the U.S. or even abroad, where it is so many different people. Everyone has a story. I think that I've really gained a greater appreciation for that, where you need to think globally, not just me here and like the Midwest and in Chicago, you know, like there's a bigger world out there. Everyone's got a nice story to tell. I think it's appreciating those differences, and that's how you really build a relationship. And that's, again, big takeaway from overseas.
Thank you, Jamey, for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.